Yuri Nation. Yuri Nation, how we feeling?
Hi, friends.
We got the Jackie Gellinor in the house. Hello, everyone. I'm doing something different with the music. Like, let me know. Let me know if the background music is decent. I didn't want to put headphones on, so it's like it is coming out of a speaker, but it might not be a big deal. Hi. Hello, everyone. Mr. New York Times bestselling author. Well, we have to write it first, but I will, I'll take that. We can manifest that. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited. I am very excited to talk about stuff and things. As always, we have the question form. You can send in your questions. It's pinned in the chat. It's in the description. I'm going to prioritize answering book-related questions. And then general like content channel things. Very unlikely I'll answer like character-specific things tonight. Also, worth the reminder that we're doing a special emergency. It's not an emergency, but a very special stream on Wednesday to talk about The Tower, which is Oron's Evelast series. So if you have questions about that, you probably want to ask them on Wednesday, unless you're not going to be there, in which case you can ask it now and I'll do what I can. So it's a lot going on, and I thought, what better time to tell the world about my Romantasy shenanigans than when I'm also announcing that I'm gonna write a Romantasy book. It just felt like it was pretty good synergy to bring up both of those things. So yeah, special Sunday stream, and then Thursday The Tower comes out. Very excited about that. So there's a lot going on. I hope you all have had a good weekend. I have had a pretty good weekend. We got to celebrate several people's birthdays. And got to watch Thunderbolts.
It's so good.
It was pretty good. So I'm writing a book. All right, let's talk about it. Some of you may recognize the characters to my left. And they will be different but familiar is probably the easiest way to put it. So let's talk about it. What is Red Tape? It is a D&D inspired romantasy with spice. I want to say that it's probably going to be more erotic than your run-of-the-mill romantasy, because I don't know how to write fucking that doesn't go hard. It's just going to be... It is going to be what it is. Yeah. So, what my little blurb in the description really sums it up, and of course I didn't save that. So, let's go ahead. Let me show you guys this little blurb. Now, you might want to full screen this so you can actually read it. And I'm going to struggle to read this because it's very small on my screen. But, boom. Okay, hold on. You can't see me, so I can... Okay. There we go. You guys can't see me scoot over and look like an old man. The bowels of hell rumble with anticipation of war, while demonic princes rip and tear at each other's throats, unable to cease their bickering long enough to agree on a course of action. In the midst of all the discord, Lumina Gale's recent promotion leaves her tasked with serving as head scythe within the court of Howal Oakmorn. And she will be serving. Ushering souls to the afterlife was a breeze compared to all the plotting and subterfuge. But to make matters worse, she and the Count find themselves entangled by a web of red tape along with the threads of fate. Yeah. So it's a cute little it's a cute little setup for our friends Lumina and Howal. It's a pretty decent. That's a pretty decent pitch, I thought. Like that's a solid little thing. But you may think, hey, I've heard of romance and hell and all of this court business. Wow, so you've just traded fairies for demons. Is that what's happening here? No, that's not what's happening here. Good try, though. So let's dive a little deeper, shall we? Let's talk about some of the tropes and shenanigans that you will find within the story of Red Tape. It is a D&D fantasy meets a modern hellscape. There's a lot of D&D fucking stories where things are a little modern. Not quite modern, but let's say, hold on, I might actually say more about it in the graphic. I love this idea. I love this idea that hell is not so much, oh, your eternal soul's been damned, but more so like less skin being flayed, more you have a desk job. Part of the pitch. So Lumina, as we got to know her in D&D, she was a Death Domain cleric that ended up, through certain circumstances, ended up serving in hell, and essentially in a Reaper capacity. And I'm a big fan of, for anyone familiar with Black Butler, the way that Reapers work in Black Butler, very like corporate. So think of it more like corporate divisions. Yeah. And her recent promotion, it's like, imagine being like a 5-star general, like you're absolute overachiever with a ton of accomplishments to your name. You are the shit. You're very good at your job. And then for some reason or another, your boss is like, hey, we're giving you a promotion, but that promotion is like a regional management position out in the boonies. It is not much of a promotion. In fact, Lumina is not very pleased with these developments at all. So our story begins with her. Whoa, hold on. Uma, welcome to Dreamer. Thank you for joining the Dreamers. So she's getting transferred to Howl's domain. A lot of things have working names right now. I haven't given everything its proper name yet, so if I'm sounding vague, it's because I don't know. Howl, some of you may recall a time where I played a character named Howl. This is not that Howl, but thematically, I would say it is Howl. So let me tell you a thing or two about Howl. He is the right-hand man of a recently elevated demon prince. So the domain he's serving in, which I have described as like Detroit but in hell. So it's you know, they had a big boom and then production left. So it's a little destitute, but it's also very rock and roll. Music will probably play a fairly big part in the story. So Howl, we describe him. Hold on. Male main character with a bloody past but a hidden nature. Those of you who are familiar with Howl probably have a pretty good guess what that hidden nature is, which is he is a troublemaker, is probably the gentlest way to put it. I would not trust him with responsibility. The thing is he does have a lot of responsibility because since his lord has been elevated, he essentially gets to be the count who is governing over this domain. And he's not exactly a like political decision-making type. Normally he's like a rabid dog. You point him in a direction and he kills. So Howl is a warlock who in his time among the living had his soul sold to his lord, who's yet to be named. And essentially his deeds in the realm of the living elevated his lord to prince status within the hell that we're working in. So he has a reputation of being like a vicious ass kicker, but the thing about Howl is his like core motivation is he's chasing the humanity that he never got to have. So he's a bit of a thrill seeker. He likes to have fun. He's a very silly guy sometimes. Though while he can be a goofball, he is highly competent when it comes to kicking ass. So he's had this reputation of, being a bit of a bloodthirsty. There has not been, I don't know the exact time frame of these things, but there has not been a new demon prince elevated to the like council of fellow princes who rule in hell or whatever. That has not happened in millennia, I would say. So for Howl's efforts to have played a significant role in elevating what would have been a lowly demon to princedom, it's fairly significant. So in both of their rights, they are fairly competent, but what we discover early on will be that Lumina, she's been a badass in hell for a longer time than Howl has. And she has become very comfortable with the with her role in things. But as we get to know her more, we kind of discover like, hey, she had quite a past of her own outside of all this reaping stuff. Like, she had a life, and they sort of they begin to meet in the middle when it comes to finding their humanity. Hers, which she's buried and kept under wraps, and his, which he's been chasing but never quite being able to reach. So they both kind of discover what they need in each other, you see. So, you know, we're not exactly reinventing the wheel, but I love these characters very much. So I think it's a very, very intriguing pairing. And this came about because I've never been done with Hal. I've had Hal brainworms for a long time, and somewhere along the way, you know, me and Jackie were talking, and it was like, hey, what if our Blorbos ever met? How would that have gone? One, two, skip a few. It became pretty clear that like the way these two would interact would be very interesting and likely result in some shenanigans. And I started to contemplate, like, well, what would happen here if I made this story happen? What would that look like? And I started to feel really strongly about making this a novel. So it is a will they, won't they, but not, I want to, you guys, if you're here, you're definitely familiar with the way I handle interpersonal conflicts among main characters. There are a few, so I've yapped privately about some of the potential developments and way it would go, and the way some communication conflicts could work without being, because that's my least favorite thing ever is communication conflicts, because I just want to say 90% of the time I've ever seen them done, I hate it. But it's only because it doesn't feel like, it doesn't make perfect sense why this would not just be communicated. So stuff like that, things where, hey, I think I could take these popular tropes in this specific genre and have a lot of fun with them in the YuuriVoice kind of way. So I'm quite excited. So let me come on back. So I started to put together the tools I need to write, and I started to make some character sheets and figure out how certain things would work in the story. And I've been very self-conscious because, sure, I've been storytelling, writing scripts, doing a lot of writing for years and years and years now. Years and years and years now. I don't know. It just felt like perhaps this is the time to do the thing. I have wanted to write a novel for the longest time. It was, you know, I call it my first dream. And I definitely feel like this premise and these characters are strong enough for me to actually bring it to fruition. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic that I could probably get this done within a year. I think that would be... What is Jackie doodling? Let me... Hold on. That's the beginnings of Lumina there.
Whoa, you can zoom in?
I just... It's not quite... Hold on, it might focus on you if I...
Want me to send you the sketch so you can show them?
Yeah, we could do that.
So you guys can... Oh, my lovely side profile. I really like my nose.
Okay. Here, I will show you guys what we're cooking up. Let me go grab that. Give me that.
It is Finn.
It is Finn over there. Yeah, that was done when we did the YuuriVoice-a-thon. Faust was where Jackie was drawing, but because I think this would make a very good backdrop for filming TikToks and whatnot, I had to, you know.
Goodbye, Faust.
Sorry about it.
Back to the walls.
All right, let's... Image. Add source. New source. Oh, hold on. Transform fit to screen. That's what she's cooking up on the chalkboard. There you go. You have feasted your eyes. So yeah, let me go ahead and read through some of these things we've got over here. So we've got demonic conspiracies. That's kind of a given. It's kind of a given. Death is literally a giant woman. I didn't plan on that, but as I started to write Lady Death, I was like, yeah, it's like, I always forget her name. Fuck. The giant woman from Resident Evil and the Sphinx from Dragon's Dogma 2. Those are kind of the vibes. It's, I love it. As it stands, the first time you meet her, they're in a hell horse-drawn carriage, and fucking, it's not an abnormally sized carriage, so it's just giant woman and Lumina sitting in the carriage. Very excited about that. Do what?
Let me know if my doodle is too loud.
No. Doodle intensely. It's fine. There is a cat butler. I knew I wanted a tabaxi involved somehow. What else? Finger blasting in the middle of a nightclub. That honestly, and this, I'm not proud of this. I'm not proud of this. That's actually the first scene that I knew. And it's probably that scene that made it.
We've been making them kiss in hell for like almost 2 years.
Yeah, it has kind of been batted around for a while. Is the tabaxi papa coated? You'll see. You'll see. capable female main character rediscovers her humanity. Workplace romance with a twist. Yeah, it is a unique blending of workplace / royal court because of the nature of how like Reapers work, and Howal is like both a boss plus. So it is definitely a blend of those two things. That's how I would characterize that. Will they, won't they? Dual POV boss employee. Yeah. That sums it up.
Middle management guy.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I don't know. He's higher than middle. Higher than middle. It's more like the middle management guy got promoted to the big boss. And he's like, I don't want that. What do you mean I have to sit here and listen to people's problems? And like deal with all this petty nonsense? So, I am excited about that. Yeah. So I'm stoked. I'm very stoked. Sweet Kaida, a member of Dreamer for 8 months. Can't be on stream, got denied my paid time off.
Oh.
But I hope y'all have fun. I'm so excited to learn about Howal, Lumina, and the novel. Best of wishes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I've been, it's a small cast of characters. I think so I've got enough runway where if I wanted this to be a trilogy, it very easily could be, and I know the plot beats and everything. But because I don't know exactly how it's all gonna go, it would be a satisfying one book read, with things for you to like ponder on after reading. But my goals, part of why I've gone ahead and like announced now and am talking about this early is one, building a following for the thing, which by the way, author name Ryland Dane. Hi, nice to meet you. You can find links to all of Ryland's social media. You should follow TikTok, especially because books on TikTok are such a huge ordeal. Getting eyes on all the shit I'm going to be making for promo would be very helpful. I will be doing a lot of that on main as well. But it makes sense to have the social media for the author name now instead of, oh my god, there's a book, I better make social media. I'd rather have it ahead of time. So if you would like to get in at the ground, if you would like to get in on the ground floor, you should go follow those. I guess I'm gonna take a peek at questions, and we got a few. Mochi asks, is the book going to be hardcovered or an ebook? So, and this was something I was about to bring up. So here's my goals. And I think getting it out there and like putting pressure on myself to do the thing, like it's very real now, right? Like I've told the world that I'm doing this. So now there's a little extra like, oh, well, no one knows if I don't do it. Oh, it could take forever. No, I want people to anticipate so I feel that motion towards doing it. So my goal, and this is pie in the sky, I suppose. Also, Healer of the Waters, welcome to Dreamer.
Welcome to Dreamer.
Thank you very much for your support. I would like to be traditionally published. I think I would have great success if I self-published. I already know I have an audience. I already have people who would be interested. I could self-publish, but I want to swing big. I would like the feather in my cap. I think, and this is, I'm not saying this is even the correct way to feel or think about it, but I do think there is a certain amount of, as a writer who has been chasing this for so long, there's a certain appeal to traditional publishing, knowing that like you drew the attention of publishers, etc. It does have a nice bit of gratification that comes along with it, because let's face it, I've independently sold my stories a ton already. I've done that. I've succeeded at that. I made a career out of that already. I've already done it. So I don't need the, I don't necessarily need the, oh, I sold this to the following I had. I want to aim a little higher. That's where I think I should be looking at. Now, I could get humbled. I could get absolutely humbled, and in which case, I certainly could self-publish, and you guys would get to read this anyways. So, my hope, though, is to, by next year, be querying this to agents and trying to get it in front of people. All while...
Even if you do self-publish it,
yeah.
publishing houses can find the self-published and then republish it under the publishing name. Because that's one of the books that I've read. I bought it before when it was self-published, and now it's getting a rerun, a re-release. What they do is they have you write a bit more for it, but it's under a publishing thing.
I see.
Even if you make a lot of noise with your self-published, they might be like, oh shit.
Yeah. I would definitely want there to be a physical. Yes, it would take time. So like if I was able to like get a deal in place next year, you'd probably be waiting another 2 years. Which I would be fine with that. Because I feel pretty good about there being a book 2 and a book 3. I know what would happen in book 2 and book 3 if they were to occur. So I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that. I just think, so I've been doing a lot of research on like writers and like what in terms of writing novels, like what road bumps do people face? What are some of, specifically I watched a video from editors who were like, hey, these are the most common things we run into when we're editing books. And a lot of it is the sort of thing that I've really ironed out over my own work already. So it's like character motivations are unclear. POV characters who turn into like someone who's just witnessing the plot rather than being someone in the plot. Tons of things where it's like, oh, I feel like I at this point I have a lot of experience not doing these things. My biggest concern has been the mechanics of writing prose. I have not written prose in a very long time, so there's just mechanical rules, and what I had to do was just get over it and say like, hey, read some examples of the thing that you're trying to do, and then go. And then so long as it's legible and doesn't impede the reader's pace, then we can fix whatever needs to be fixed later. Also, and you're going to notice this in a lot of tweets and descriptions and stuff, I got comfortable with the M dash.
There you go.
I got comfortable with the M dash finally. So every time there would have been an ellipses, it's an M dash.
Got an M dash.
I figured out how to do it.
It's like we've got a phone.
We got a Pope, we got an M dash. There's smoke coming out of the YuuriVoice.
Yuri Nation, celebrate.
I'm pretty proud of that. It took a long time. I'm a millennial. It takes a lot of effort to rip my little 3 dots away from me. Although I will say right now, there's M dash discourse because apparently AI likes to use M dashes a lot. So now like people are mistakenly being, it's like getting called out for AI art when it's not AI art just because people don't know. They don't know. So I'm not worried about it. My big thing, and this is my rule, it's like this. It's like the rule of cool for writing. Does it make the reader's experience smoother? That's all that matters. So long as your eyes follow along and you're digesting without hitting like road bumps, that's all that really matters. Now, some editors, some people are going to have big opinions on that, but I genuinely feel like so long as your eyes, no, Mama Bear, don't worry. I'm the ellipses king. Whoa, relax.
I do it worse than you, and I'm a millennial.
And then there's like, if you guys want to see the kind of shit that's like hurting my head, go read up on people's debate on using ellipses in dialogue.
Oh.
Because there's huge debate in, yes. Because like Brandon Sanderson does it a specific way, and it's not the way that most people would do it. So now a lot of people are like, oh, do it that way. And they're like, no. Again, there's no real fucking rule. There aren't real rules for that. I mean, to be fair, there are style guides that are rules, but ultimately, saying all that to say, I had to sit with myself and say, hey, quit fucking worrying about that. That doesn't actually matter. Like, you can deal with that later. So, that is exciting for me. Yeah, I feel there is, so the little blurb here, this has, 2 other paragraphs to that. That is, Blue, that isn't wrong. But you can essentially make it the same. Depending on... It really depends on what the next thing that follows is and what the intent of the delivery is. So, it's a lot. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about this. You guys want to see some concept art? Jackie did this while she was on a plane, by the way.
No.
So,
War bows.
it's all very exciting, isn't it? I can expand a little bit on some of the concepts. And this stuff was very very spitball-y, and it all sort of just came about as I was pondering and yapping. So there's like two ways that Reaper, well, technically like three ways that Reapers in this world I'm building do their jobs, right? So you've got your like low-level Reaper. This is like your literal Grim Reaper that you would imagine coming to collect the souls of the dead. So that is generally what most Reapers would be doing. I've even thought of a few, like what that process kind of looks like in terms of how they get there and the coming back and forth sort of business. And then you have someone who's on like Lumina's level, which is dealing with souls that have gotten away from their typical, like, being ushered from death to wherever they're ending up in hell. Which is basically like you're being escorted to where you're going to be working for the rest of your life type of shit. There are varying degrees of that, but like where she was at, which was like the capital. I have not determined like states and capital names yet, but essentially in the big city, in the big capital city, it's very modern. I'm talking like skyscrapers, kind of like brutalist structure. It's very bland, but like in a way because it's like maximum efficiency. It is when I say corporate hellscape, that is a corporate hellscape. Like every floor's cubicles are all perfectly aligned. There's the exact same amount on every floor. Every floor is exactly identical. That type of thing. So Lumina was quite a big deal there. And typically what would be happening... So New York. Yeah, you kind of got it right. So in a typical, okay, everything's going the right way as intended, your low-level Reapers are ushering souls to their next existence, which would be, surprise, you're at a desk. You could be going over taxes. You could be, it just not a ton of fun. So where Lumina would come in is say that maybe a soul has escaped. Maybe a particularly rebellious soul has escaped from their intended position. Two things can happen in such a case. You have cases where there might be a soul. It's almost like a haunting or a ghost where like a very intense emotion has drawn this soul, spirit, whatever, to its place. And they could just be grieving or angry or dealing with whatever big emotion they had at the time of death. In which case you almost detective your way to find them and get them back to where they need to be. And in some cases, so Lumina is the IRS. No. No. She helps feed the system that would be that, I suppose. Well, she was that. She's not that anymore. Then you have cases where one of those may not necessarily just be talked to. And what I realized was I sort of just made hollows from Bleach. So, you know, the soul or whatever becomes almost corrupted and then takes on some sort of scary form, scary, dangerous form. And then you've got to fucking fight it. So that is also Lumina's job. And it's one that she's very good at. So that opens the door for a lot of fun. So I've said it's kind of like Bleach meets Mushishi. For those who might be familiar or unfamiliar with Mushishi, it's literally just this real chill guy going around Japan, like solving spiritual conundrums. Is very chill. So yeah, you get a little column A, a little column B, and I think that's very neat. So Lumi will have plenty of work to be doing. Yeah. What else can I really share about that? Probably not a ton. I can share a little bit of the plot. No, that looks right. Oh, rip. All right, I can come back. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, yes, the plot. So there is a large reason why our events are occurring. How hard not to yap into spoilers of YuuriVoice. The thing is, I probably won't. There won't be. We'll see. What I'll do to alleviate it is I'll be able just to share snippets that I like that are contextless. Plot though. So we mentioned demonic conspiracies in the our little graphic over there. So there are things afoot. In the little blurb, it talks about how war is on the horizon. There is an external threat of sorts. And the council members, which would just be like the demonic princes of different areas within hell, they cannot agree on a course of action. And all of this indecision is, I would say, almost intentional by certain groups. There are people who stand to benefit from this outside thing, but they are not revealing that they are in cahoots or whatever. So, what we've got going on is Lady Death, which is Death, has conspired with Howl's Lord to begin a counter conspiracy, basically. Like, they are convinced that, hey, some of these people are trying to fuck us on purpose, and we need to start fucking back or everything will be fucked. So Howal and Lumina's bosses have essentially put them together. And they are not entirely privy to what is going on. They've just been told, hey, this is what's happening, and this is what I need you to be doing. And they're like, okay, but I don't have to fucking like it. So there's a conspiracy afoot. And that is probably all I can say. A few of the extended cast. So I've mentioned Lady Death. I've mentioned Howl's Lord. Cat Butler. Cat Butler is probably your second biggest, or no, he would be the biggest side character. He is the butler at the manor that Howl stays in, where he governs from. And he's essentially he's the reason things don't go off the rails. He's there to make sure Howl stays on task. And then when he's off task, to make sure that things don't come crashing down. Also serves as the go-between for these two characters. So, a great source of information for both of them. In terms of like Lumi getting to know a little bit about the area, getting to know about Howl, getting to know about Howl's Lord, that sort of thing. And yes, the butler's gonna be stressed, very stressed. What's the bad news? Running out of...
White's completely gone.
Oh.
It's our whole hair color. But
It would...
do the rest and then...
I can acquire more.
Yeah, so we're gonna finish this.
Okay. We're running out of juice.
So far it's only the white one.
I completely lost track of what I was saying. Cat Butler. I like him. He's good. I cannot share a whole lot more than that. Let's see. There's a lieutenant of Howl's. Kind of like a war buddy who is still high ranking. And then Lumi has a few interesting characters that are tied to her. One of which is her former boss. So that would have been the head fellow in the Capitol, which is a pretty significant role. He is a big piece of shit who probably had the hots for her type deal going on. So she's not entirely upset that she got to get out of the Capitol, but she's so like confident and competent that she wasn't like, oh, I've got to get away. It's like, I know how to deal with him. He's stupid, whatever. It's not that big of a deal, which it is, but it's a mild annoyance to her because she knows how to handle herself. And there will likely be a moment in the plot where we go from... We kind of do the fish out of water thing, right? Lumina goes to this place. She's used to the refinement of the Capitol. And then she's looking at this new place like, wow, I've literally gone into the gutter. That's not what I'm used to. But she finds a lot of charm in this domain, and even sees a lot of kind of familiar camaraderie that is familiar to her because of what she was up to in her time in the realm of the living, which I don't know if I'll say exactly what that was at the moment. But it starts to make her kind of remember and reminisce about times where she wasn't just doing this thing eternally, and kind of helps get her to loosen up a bit, as Howal is also like trying to see what her deal is exactly. Yeah. And then the plot. So I do feel pretty good about the that. Yeah. So it's like I feel good about the balance of romance to plot. And the one thing I wanted to make sure of was like I know why things are happening. Getting a big picture of like what happened before, what would happen next, and why these things are happening and who's pulling strings, etc. It helps because I think sometimes some writers might go, ooh, Grim Reaper Warlord, and just start writing. And that's a good way to end up making some mistakes or having a plot that doesn't really go anywhere or have urgency or anything. So there are... I'm big on every scene should advance something, whether it's an emotional beat or specific character arc or literally the plot. Everything should be building in a direction. And I feel like I can do that fairly competently. So yeah. So I've got Scrivener set up. I do a little writing at home right here, all while doing all my other stuff, which is fun. But it's nice because it works different muscles in my creative brain. I feel pretty good about it. It definitely, because like I've had book ideas forever, right? But this one made me get off my ass. This one was like, I couldn't accept that I had an idea that I felt that strongly about and I didn't act on it. Because I would hate, a year, 2 years from now to go, man, I wish I would have given that a shot. That's okay, Mama Bear. You can send it to the pinned Google form, but I'll answer it here. Because it was something I had to answer for myself. Are these characters technically immoral, immortal, since they are already in hell? So, I had to ask myself the same question. How does that work? What happens if you... So in Howal's case, he is a warlock who sold his soul to his lord that he's serving, and then died in the realm of the living and has come to hell. And all I can really say is I do have an answer for that. Basically, don't die again. If your soul is not in your possession anymore, if you were to die, you've got... So, all right, let me get... Mind you, a lot of this, vague concepts, but my understanding of it as it stands is you've got residue. So for Howal, there's residue of his soul that he is essentially allows him to still be him and have a semi-mortal coil, right? if he were to die, his soul would still be in possession of his lord, but his like consciousness, heart, spirit, essentially kaput. So yes, I would say it is almost as close to a true death as possible. I don't know if such a magic where if you were able to retrieve his soul, could you? I don't think so, because I think the meat that a demon patron would retain, I think it's just essence. Like, I don't think there's someone in there. So I don't think you'd be getting him back. Now for Reapers and Lumina specifically, a little hazy, but it is something I've thought about. She's not a warlock. I believe she's still in possession of her soul. I think she, when she died in the realm of the living, for reasons, there was some sort of deal made where she ends up serving Lady Death in hell. So if she were to die, I do not know what would happen to her soul. I would assume her soul, much like everyone else's, would be ushered somewhere. So there are penalties for death, basically. Like, there are stakes. Because that's one of the things that you have to consider in a situation like that. There has to be stakes. Like, they can't just be, oh, I'm just an immortal little guy, and sure, you could beat me up, and it'll just bother me. Nah, like, there's stakes to everything. I would say Howal would be much more at risk than she. Than her. Yeah. Okay, so speaking of question list, let me go check it out. For details on the book without spoiling anything, what are we expecting? I think I answered that one. Is it possible to order a poster signed by the YuuriVoice team? That would be neat. Not at the moment. We don't have an easy way to do that. But it is something that I would figure out. What's the difference between Howal Oakmorn and your D&D character Hal? Well, he is intellectual property wise my own. So basically any core like plot beats or names, setting, events, that sort of thing, I have filled in those blanks myself, but I think his general countenance and disposition are very much the same. His time spent in the realm of the living is not entirely different. I think he adventured. He likely had friends. He likely made deals with several patrons and caused a lot of trouble for a lot of people. Yeah, but the events that have occurred elsewhere, they're not like canon to him. Which I think it helps that he has a real last name. But I will say the nickname Thronebreaker is probably still a thing that he has. He definitely has had a fun time.
Yeah, I just thought about fucking 40 SC.
Yeah, are they on a throne?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they are. Jackie's over there thinking about them banging.
Stop.
Let me see here.
Love making.
Does this take place in a different setting within the YuuriVoice, or the Romantasy takes place in its own continuity? It's its own continuity. I would say it is completely removed, plucked from any of my shenanigans. What was the inspiration to add Lumina into your story? Us going, ooh, wouldn't it be cute? Wouldn't it be cute if we made our little Blorbos?
I'm wondering who was the first one to suggest it.
Um,
Assuming it was you.
It might have been, because I think there was that other bit of the plot that I concocted.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, ooh, what if this?
I was thinking about it though.
Oh, yeah. Because Howal partakes in some debauchery. Which could definitely lead to some fun little scenes where perhaps one of his typical partners might be like, oh, hey, Howal. And Lumi's like,
Who's this? That would be so fun.
what's all this then? And Howal's like, what? I like rope.
Stop. I didn't choose to have a British accent.
What was the inspiration for your pen name? I love it. Well, the one that I wanted was taken. The one that I wanted was taken by a fantasy author. So I definitely felt like... definitely. Are you going to put the rope thing in there? There will probably be a reference. If not explicitly mentioned that he likes being tied up.
Lumi's on it.
Wow, the entire thing is them being wrapped up.
Whoa!
Whoa. Howal, don't fucking get your jollies off in the fucking cover art.
He's forcing your pen.
Yeah, so the name was taken. I really like the name Dane. I think I stole that from Kit Harington's character in Eternals.
Yeah.
And Ryland, I was just... So, like, when I'm really struggling with names, I just start making, like, sounds, like, combinations of letters. And I got to, like, Ryland.
We were doing that in the chat when we were naming them too.
Yeah. Yeah, I also did that trying to come up with... Proud that Ryland wasn't a 4-letter name. Hey.
Was that Z?
No, that was Thea, and also Blue,
Hell yeah.
and somewhere Z.
Not them at the same time calling you out for the 4-letter name. That's crazy.
Scarlet Torchic says, excited for the book. What are some themes you hope to explore within the story? And what is something you learned about yourself while writing so far? Good luck with everything. I've learned to trust myself better and stop overthinking things. Once I wrote the first 500 words and like stepped back, looked away, had lunch, came back, read it, and was like, oh, that kind of fucks. Like, that looks right. I think I can do this. Like, I think I can do this. So learning to trust myself, learning to, I don't know. I mentioned it earlier, like, I may end up getting humbled, but yeah, I think I am approaching this with a confidence of someone who has done this shit for money for a decade. And I feel like some people might look at that and think I don't know, insane. but I think it helps me perform confidently by saying, like, hey, I've been doing this. I've made characters people love. I've told stories that I'm really proud of that have inspired people to go tell their own stories. I want to own that and then move accordingly, instead of being like, ah, man, I'm so nervous, or, oh, I don't know, whatever. Like, I need to swing the meat around a little bit. Like, put a little bass in my voice when I say I'm about to do something. And I think that confidence will help a lot. Yeah. So, you know, I might get smacked in the face and be like, hey, this is trash. And you know what? That's fair. But the nice thing is, like, this isn't my main thing, right? This is a passion project. And being able to pursue something out of passion, there's a lot of shit that I think I know. I can tell you what I do know for sure is that if you pursue something out of passion, it will resonate with people. You can do things perfectly. You can be technically better. You can have a better vocabulary. You can have a million things that I don't. You won't have the passion that I have for a story like this. And if I can keep that passion for it, I can figure out the rest. Because I've figured out everything fucking else. So that's my mentality going into it. Healer of the Waters asked, just want to know when the book would be published. Obviously, it's impossible to tell because drafts and redrafts, and I assume there will be art abound within its pages. But if you have an estimated date, I just really want to make sure I buy it when it releases. Also, will you be doing signed copies? So, a ton of that depends on what happens in terms of me trying to be traditionally published, etc. My assumption, which could be very wrong, but also, if it's good, if my shit's good, I can likely be choosy. But, you know, for a first-time author, it can be an uphill battle. But I think an agent and whatever publisher were to see this and see my following and the amount of people who are invested in my stories and everything, I think they would see the value in retaining the YuuriVoiceification of things, right? You know, I would be very thrilled if that meant I could secure a bag for Jackie as well. That would be cool. As someone who wants to get into doing illustrations for books. Yeah, so I feel like signed copies are a guarantee. For someone who already has an audience, 100% they would do signed copies. I feel like that would be like insane if not. Bashjoff asks, so they love each other? Well, not at the start. Not at the start, but I do anticipate that they are going to be falling in love. Yes. I do anticipate that. Also, I am really worried about having to sign things in a name that isn't my own. My signatures already look like shit. I hate my penmanship. I need to just watch a video on how to master your signature. That would be good. So much research and study going into things. Healer of the Waters asks, curious about how much illustration there would be. I don't know. I do know that, like, very fun. Just about to ask, are you signing as YuuriVoice or Ryland? It would be Ryland. I would maybe, like, I don't know. It would probably just be the one. But if I was doing, like, if someone asked me to sign a copy, I would be like, who, buddy, you want me to sign as? I don't know. But here's what's cool. So, like, what we've done with this is, like, for the, like, promotion, while it is an indie thing right now, is like, well, we can do whatever the fuck we want. Like, you know, if we wanted to make a little animatic that I narrate over, if we wanted to do, you know, we'd do whatever. It's just a matter of, like, that's also more work, but, you know, I think it helps right now in building interest because people do love to see a visual thing. Yeah. Like the...
If you were to do, like, the narrating over top.
Yeah.
That would go crazy.
Yeah.
And even Instagram's huge for this.
So yeah, you know, it's a great way to promote things. Yeah. Let's see. Where was I? Sleepy asked, how did you find your art style and voice to do all these videos? Well, Jackie's the art director around here. As for voice, I don't know, man. I just fucking... I just say a little prayer and go. Ice Girl asks, sorry if this question's already been asked. What is one big thing you're most excited about for your story? Cannot wait to see what you cook up. Ooh.
I have what I'm excited for.
Ooh.
I can't say it.
Oh, Jackie can't say what hers is. I think... So there's a popular... What do you even call that? Popular opinion that the second part of a trilogy is the darkest. Yeah, well, like, that's where a lot of the bad shit happens. I do have some ideas for what might occur in a second book to distress our Blorbos.
No.
But for this book, the one that I know I'm doing right now, very excited for the climax. I realized on Tumblr, so I've had the idea for years, I've had the idea for how this specific thing would go. Because, like, for the longest time, it was just an idea of, like, how Howal and Lumi would get into each other's proximity. And what I realized would be cool is, like, well, what if they had to, like, form a team? Like, what if there was something they needed to go acquire or save or defeat? Something that required a team being put together, and Hal and Lumi were on this team. So I knew about that for a long time. And as I've started to figure out what the plot beats of this novel will be, it's almost like an abridged heist. So if you're familiar with a heist story, it's over the course of the story, the problem. You go and find unique people with unique skills to build a team. The team struggles to work together. The team overcomes their challenges. The team goes on the heist. There's a problem in the heist. They overcome the problem in the heist. The heist happens. That's a heist story. But I ain't got time for all that. I don't think it would be as fun doing an entire heist story, but it is kind of like an abbreviated heist story we do run into people who will be a part of the heist. They do struggle to work together, but it's more so, how many times do we say heist? All of them. So I was laying this all out, kind of explaining my plan. And then I realized that I was basically doing the Philosopher's Stone, where there's a set of trials and they overcome the trials and then they get the thing. Except my Philosopher's Stone is way cooler than the Philosopher's Stone. It's something that matters a lot. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. The whole time I was like, okay, so it's a MacGuffin, which for those of you who might not know, a MacGuffin is just like the arbitrary plot thing that we have to get because it's important. And it's important because we said it's important. And like, it's kind of just like an unofficial agreement that like, hey, hi, I'm a viewer. Hi, I'm a storyteller. We need this story to happen. And you just agree like, okay, this thing matters because it matters, whatever. Because sometimes it doesn't matter that much. But as I was like contemplating, I realized what they were going after. And it makes the story so much cooler. Like, if I can pull that off, I think, because oh my God. Yes, it is the Magical School's Philosopher's Stone, not the Full Metal Alchemist Philosopher's Stone. It might be cooler than that one too. At least in terms of how it impacts the plot.
Also not written by a fucking turd.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I realized that, I was like, oh shit. Because like the key theme is like humanity and how you experience it through friendship, how you experience it through love, how you experience it through like empathy, how, and all this stuff. Cause the core thing is they're learning how to live again and be human. Even though, like, you don't have to necessarily be human to be a human. You know what I'm saying? Or to experience humanity, if you will. And there's a few fun ways that we get to show it. But the most bang-on-the-nose one is them falling in love. Yeah, so I will say this for our dear Howal. I do not think he has ever been in love. I think that's kind of a key component. He has loved people, but he's never been in love. He's never really experienced like a romantic attraction. He's experienced like a sexual attraction. He's just never been like, romance. Not his thing. And it's likely because subconsciously he's put walls up. He's like, hey, I'm doomed. I don't want to haunt your narrative. That's great. Hal doesn't want to haunt anyone's narrative. So he has likely run into opportunities to fall in love, but has sabotaged those on purpose. So that might be a fun thing that we could have to overcome throughout the story as well. Him being a little scared. Oh yes. So I wouldn't say he's clueless. He can be. He can't be. He can be clueless. But not in. I would say he can be clueless, but not in a way that I would call him a clueless character. You know? I don't want to haunt your narrative. I don't want to haunt your narrative on a t-shirt. Would be amazing. Yeah.
Crazy way to describe a situation,
He haunts my narrative and sometimes blows my back out. Whoa. Hit me up next time you're back in hell, Detroit. Put it on booty shorts.
He's been on booty.
He has been. I mean, he's been in booty shorts. Let's see.
He doesn't haunt the narrative haunts him. Boy.
I haunt him. He thought he could get away.
They have little
Oh, little.
bloopers. I think they're like stickers too.
Oh, nice.
If we need those.
What is the main? I don't know if I can re-explain the main plot of the story. Wait, hold on. Let's do it again. Let's do this again. Hold on. Where the fuck? There we go. Hold on. Let me read. Here we go. The bowels of hell rumble with anticipation of war, while demonic princes rip and tear at each other's throats, unable to cease their bickering long enough to agree on a course of action. In the midst of all their discord, Lumina Gale's recent promotion leaves her tasked with serving as head scythe within the court of Howal Oakmorn. Ushering souls to the afterlife was a breeze compared to all the plotting and subterfuge. But, to make matters worse, she and the Count find themselves entangled in a web of red tape, along with the fuck. I was so proud of how that read was going. Entangled in a web of red tape, along with the threads of fate. There you go. Entablement. That's the brief synopsis. What else is there? So would there be merch separate from the book, like cute bookmarks or stickers? I know on Book Talk they have bundles with spicy overlays and prints and stuff. I don't know.
Oh, I fucking love the overlay.
Overlays.
So it's like
Talk to
art
me.
that you put on where the scene is in the book, but the art itself is like a desaturated isn't the word. It's sort of like see-through paper.
Yeah.
So it sits between that scene, and as you're opening and flipping through the book, you see it, but you can see the writing underneath. It's so nice. They make a lot of them on Etsy too for like specific stories and specific books.
That sounds cool.
So nice.
Damn, I'd like to do that.
So it's like it's not fully the inside has a picture book type of.
But
feel,
it's like you can slide it in.
you
And
can slide it in.
oh, that's cool. How do you make such memorable characters? Here's what I've learned over time is making your characters flawed helps, because we're all flawed and we can recognize you've either engaged with someone who exhibits certain flaws or you yourself have them. That's why some people, a character might resonate with them in a way where, oh man, this hits close to home, or resonates in a way that's recognizable. Like maybe you knew someone who been in a situation like that, or you know, you experienced something at the hands of someone who was like that, you know, anything. Just making them human, I think. Giving them purpose. An easy way to do this is just give them motivations. Like, why does this character want this? If you can answer that, you're off to a great start. So, like, why does Lumina feel some type of way about being in this place and seeing shit like this? Well, she recognizes some of the personalities and interactions and events happening, and it reminds her of a time that she hasn't thought about in centuries. She's so far removed from her time being a living person in the realm of the living. And she very likely struggled at first. Like, it probably didn't come easy to her. She probably had hundreds of years that were a challenge to her like that. And then, you know, finally, for a long time, she has enjoyed being dedicated to her work, being very good at this work, rising through the ranks, all of that. So to be sent to this place by someone who knows damn well her past and how being in this place might make her feel, she probably is frustrated. Like, she likely isn't gonna be the easiest to get along with at first, but she has reasons. And that's the nice thing about doing the dual POV, right? Like, we can do like deep third person omniscient, right? So we kind of get some insight into what she's thinking. It's not first person, which I guess that's something I should have mentioned, is I like third person omniscient.
Most people do.
It's the most natural way for me to write. I wouldn't want to try anything out of my wheelhouse for my first shot at this. And then you have Howal. His motivations, he's chasing that humanity. He doesn't want, he resists doing exactly what Lumina did. He could come and be like, all right, I'm fully immersing myself in my role as my Lord's right hand. I'm going to embrace this, like, I'm a high-ranking official in hell. I should behave as such, whatever. But like, he's tried. But like, why can't he sneak away and go to the club? Like, why can't he go and, you know, party a little bit, have a little fun, get into a little trouble? So he isn't the most responsible. He's a bit of a troublemaker. Not the most dependable when it comes to official shit, right? Like, if the job is, hey, we're at war, I need you to rally the troops and go kill these people, say less. But running the domain in his lord's absence is incredibly challenging, because it's the exact opposite of what he wants. He doesn't want more responsibility. He doesn't want to have to answer for these big decisions, right? Like, wait, you know, choices on a battlefield, easy. Choices in a political setting? Like, what do you mean I have to settle this dispute between these two business owners? Like, I have to decide, like where are the property lines between these two farms? Like, what the fuck? This isn't what I want. And also, it's stuffy. It's not fun. His big thing, and Howl's like guiding light, has always been he wanted to be a hero. He wanted to be a hero. And he never, ever, ever got the chance. He was, from birth, sworn to this demon prince. He never had a shot at figuring it out on his own. The path was laid for him. And he has a lot of angst over that. And his time in the realm of the living, the way that he dealt with it was like, all right, I'm gonna lean into it. I will just dedicate myself to recruiting for my lord, for fighting these wars, for, you know, making a name for us. But it was never what he wanted for himself. So he chases that high, you know, of finding something resembling a life he didn't get to live. So I think and mind you, we got into this particular yap about how do you make memorable characters? Well, you give them motivations. You answer a few questions. Like, so Hal shirks his responsibilities because his entire existence has been spent fulfilling someone else's wishes. And now he literally has to sit in the seat of the demon he has fulfilled the wishes for a millennia. This sucks. This super duper sucks. So when you pair that with Lumina, you get a very interesting connection. Because like they don't understand each other to begin with, right? Like he sees her and he's like, well, what? I mean, you're so like business oriented. Like, how did you end up here? And she'd be like, that doesn't matter. I'm here now. And he's like, well, it definitely matters. Like well, a few of the things he would dig into are a little spoilery, but like, oh, so you were a cleric. So why are you here? So why are you here? What happened in your life that brought you here? Because I know what brought me here. No choice of my own. So did you come here by choice or what happened? Because like you shouldn't even be here. Shit like that. So you see how these two parallels will start to converge. I like it. And for a while I didn't have these answers, and that's why I wasn't motivated to like seek more. I had an idea for where it could go, and that excited me, but it wasn't enough for like their own story, right? So yeah. Excuse me. How was it working on BVZ from Evie? It was great. I like Good Boy Audio's writing. This was a very interesting episode. For those of you who don't know, over on Good Boy Audio's channel, I've been playing Hip Switch, which is a primary character in Bastards vs. Zombies. It is a sci-fi adventure romance. It's probably the best way to put it. I'm a robot cowboy. It's a good time. And thick episodes. Very thick episodes. It's a great time. Gabe Itch, which I feel like that's a, what do you call those? When it's a name that's supposed to make you say something. Yeah. How do you think you'll introduce the audience to the story when they open the book? Very introductory, basically mini tutorial, or is the audience being dropped into action on the first page? Great question, because that was the first thing that I wanted to answer. And I stared at the page for an hour, because like you'll hear everybody has an opinion on like what should happen in your first sentence, your first 3 sentences, what has to happen in your first page, da 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 da. And I am of the belief that it depends on what your goal is. So, and this is first draft, obviously subject to change. But what I've got is it introduces you to the voice that my narration has. So it's very vague world building. It gives you only what you need to know at the time. It's very humanity believes such and such is like this. Well, come to find out, it's not like that at all. It's more like this. And it's a little quippy, it's punchy, gives you enough to be like, without me taking 2 hours of a stream to tell you what the premise is, it gives you one bone of the structure to cling on to. It's like, all right, you've given me a very interesting fact about how this world works, and then we are going. Like, we're immediately introduced to Lumina and Lady Death. Two interesting characters with an interesting dynamic. Lady Death is very fun. And we immediately establish Lumina's hesitancy. And we establish that Lady Death knows what Lumina is avoiding. It's very like, oh, what? You're worried you're going to have fun? So, like, establishing, like, none of what is about to happen is unexpected from a bigger POV. Now, that's 500 words, so it's basically the first page. And then I was debating on what was going to happen, and I think I figured it out. I think we're going to introduce you to what Lumi does for work. And it's going to be the more action-packed version of what she does for work. She doesn't have to have a tense conversation with a soul. She has to fight something. So I think that's how it's going. But we're going to use that as a way to introduce her to the community that she's about to be a part of. Because, like, she's pulling up. She doesn't want to fucking be here. She's like, isn't this place a fucking ghost town? Like, why am I out here in Hell, Detroit? There's nothing here. This place is basically forgotten. Why would you send me here? And then crash, bang, boom, something's happening. And, like, she sees this, like, ragtag collection of citizens trying to do her job. Like, they're fighting this big thing and getting fucked up, but they're having fun. They're, like, laughing. I was trying to give Jackie an example, and I was like, so imagine, like, Tom and Ted are fucking, like, grappling with this fucking behemoth, and Ted gets ripped in half and yeeted, and Ted gets kicked over by fucking whoever the fuck. I've already forgotten their names. But, like, they're laughing and, like, dapping each other up and high-fiving and having a really rowdy, like, roughhousing kind of time about it. And she's just like, what the fuck are wrong with these people? Or what the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, why are they acting like this is fun? Oh, yeah, I was like, yeah, Ted's ripped in half, but he's, like, throwing up the fucking devil horns. That's kind of the vibe that she steps into. So she's like, why are they acting like this is fun? Like, people are getting hurt, but they're like, he'll be fine. She's like, what the fuck? So introduce you to, in one fell swoop, you get to meet Lumi, experience her competency. We understand that Lady Death is a bit cheeky. And we introduce you to some of the conflict that Lumina will be facing. So that's I am not a world builder. They're totally not saying Leroy Jenkins while they're, exactly. You've got it figured out. Exactly that. Again, world building, like, it is a necessary evil. That's how I view it. It's a necessary evil, but I don't want to answer every little question. You know, it's like, I'll give you vibes, and as you learn more, you'll get more. But, like, laying out the, like, Lumina is a Reaper. The Reapers do this. They can do it this way and that way, but Lumina does it this way. Like, no. I'll tell you that they exist and that she's a big deal. And then you're going to see it. And that's all you really need to know. Like, you don't need to know that low-level Reapers don't do this. You could probably assume that because she has a big title and is going to this place, she probably has to deal with this sort of thing. So a lot of things, you know, just trusting people to, like, give them what they need to know. And as we learn more, they're learning more together with us and learning things through seeing it happen. Because I think that's, for me, some people love world building. And bless you if you really love a deep, thoughtful, vast world that's being built. I don't think I'm going to have any ideas that are more interesting or well crafted than someone who loves world building. So I lean into what I know I can do, which is I can give you characters. I can give you characters who are motivated, who interact in fun ways with the world around them and with the other characters around them. And I can give you strong character arcs. That's what I know I can give you. If I can inform you about the world enough that you understand why things are happening as we go, perfect. And it helps that it is D&D inspired. So there's a lot of things you can just assume, right? So like, okay, demon patrons. That means demon princes probably have other warlocks. Like, other warlocks must exist, right? You know. Yeah. So a little shorthand with the world building, but yeah, it's just, I find it tedious. I don't digest thick information well in written form. Not in a way that makes it interesting to read. I just don't. It doesn't work like that for me. Where'd you get the idea for these silly little guys? Well, Howal started off as a very, like, you know, he's been on such a journey in terms of how the Howal in my mind has developed. He started off just as, like, okay, he's the adventurous, like, he started off young adventurer, unsure of himself, whatever, ends up becoming a warlock, so on and so forth type deal. But now, I would say that Howl's, like, core personality traits and, like, his character, it's very, there's something about his desire. I haven't found an eloquent way to say it yet, but there is something to this humanity thing. Something to this humanity thing that is very Howal. I don't know. I don't know how to express it yet, but he's a lot of things. He's evolved so much. So this version you're getting of him, I don't quite know how I would characterize his inkling, like the little thing in my head that made him a guy. But there's absolutely something to, he desperately wanted to be a hero. And I think part of that is, like, humanity mattered to him. So, like, why do we need heroes? To protect humanity, to protect people from not getting a chance to pursue their whatever, right? So I think there's definitely such a big part of that where it's like, I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to fulfill my calling. And this has not been resolved. Like, there's something in me that is so driven to protect this. So that's probably like his core. As for Lumina, this was Jackie's brainchild.
She was mine. I don't know if they could hear me from here.
Maybe.
But basically, all of my characters, even my D&D characters, are a part of me that I put to paper to deal with something in my brain. And Lumina was made to kind of, I don't know if the word contend is the proper word, but with my fear of death. So she's also my first proper D&D character, and I couldn't figure out a class I wanted to play. I knew I wanted to play cleric, but I was like, religion, because of the tie it has to my whole thing of the fear of death and the fear of time. So Lumi was kind of born from that as this, like, you wouldn't think this really confident, really take no shit person would be so in tune with death in that way. Like, you wouldn't look at her design and be like, that's a death domain cleric. But I kind of feel like she's that side of me where it's like, I don't think a lot of people would look at me who's really into gothic shit and really likes ghosts and hauntings and the paranormal and monsters. You wouldn't look at me and think she's scared of death. I'm terrified of death. So I think Lumi was born from that side of me that's like, okay, how do we create something that helps me feel a little bit better about that? And then we spoke about like what would have happened had she met Howal, and I kind of, she's my girl, but I'm giving YB the reins to kind of tell her story in this, and I think it works really well that this connection that she has with my fear of death, it's that comfort of, I know that her story now is going to be tied to humanity. So it's tied to death, but also what comes of it. Sort of similar to that whole quote of like, grief is nothing but like love with nowhere to go. So it feels like death is just another celebration of life kind of deal. So I think it's a really, really important place for her to be. And like, if I was ever going to be like, if I were to ever continue her story, it would be this. I don't think I could see it continuing any other way. I had a different version of her where she was originally inspired by Griffith, her design. So she had a very like, she serves as this reaper, very in design-wise like femto, and then also had a really sad death and life after that as her job, and then was just released. Her whatever was just released, and that was the end of her story. And I kind of love that that's not what's happening, and it feels like that's how her story would go. So
very, very fun. Also, like, someone who feared death now being like their job is
right.
Like the detective side of things where you have to find the lost spirit and kind of like
there's a comfort,
get them to, she's essentially like a grief counselor.
Yeah, like
she has to grief counsel these souls. It's interesting, and learning about them and how the plot will affect them will be very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm excited to write, um, and excited to bring little snippets, share what I can, little check-ins. I'll definitely I'll be posting on social media, both on main but also on Ryland Dane's accounts, to start to make it real. Are you ever planning on bringing back the Quiet Thoughts videos back? Probably not, just because it's so different from what I'm already doing. And how did you feel about making your very first spicy audio? I don't know. I was just goofing around. It wasn't a big deal. I was never like nervous or weird about it. I was just goofing, and it went fairly well, I would say. So, yeah. Was there anything else I had to share? I don't think so. Last call for questions. I've certainly been enjoying yapping with you all about these Blorbos and what I'm going to do to them. I will be hurting them a bit, Is this based off a campaign you played in or just D&D concepts? So, only in spirit is it based off of anything I played in. They've been very stripped of any specifics. Only the vibes remain. But there are D&D concepts all over the place as well. So, no, Hal and Lumi never met in any campaign. They were both in very different eras. Which is why it was fun for us to be like, well, what would have happened? Because they were both in the same...
One of my other babies met Hal.
Same kind of, same kind of area. So, yeah. But yeah, Hal is, I do enjoy... So in a lot of these stories, I think you run into like, the like incompetent / just lost femme main character and the big scary, right? And I like the concept of the big scary also being just a guy. Like, it gives a little bit of Oron in the sense of he's supposed to be this big scary CEO who's also a criminal, blah 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 blah. But then you get to know him, and it's like, oh, you're into all this other shit, and it is a bit like that with Howell. Mental Mess 101 asks, how did you come to find your art style, Jackie? Is it inspired by anything?
A lot of failing upwards. A lot of having like a million other styles, which isn't a bad thing. If you can tap into a bunch of different styles, that's actually really good. But if you don't, at least what I realize, if you don't have something consistent, I think you're more floating than anything. As for inspiration, like fuck ton of things. Disney, like classic Disney, a bunch of artists I follow. One of my biggest inspirations growing up on art community internet is Starbite on Instagram and everywhere else, I believe. It's star_bite. You can see a lot of my inspiration from them because I remember finding them in high school and like walking in. And then a lot of the people, if you go through my following on any social media and find the artists there, a lot of that. Even like a lot of traditional artists, like Francesco Goya, I bring him up a lot. Yeah, just a mix of a lot of shit.
Hell yeah. When's the movie? Because I need to know when to have this book finished by the by.
I'm calling Sabrina Carpenter up right now.
Oh man, that's funny. Honestly, I was thinking and I was like, I don't think this would translate well to screen.
Really? What if I put like animated?
Animated, yes. I don't think Cat Butler translates well to live action. Like a Tabaxi in live action, I'm not sure I'm sold on that. Animated would work. Animated would work. Format wrapping. Wrap it. How has your vision for Howal changed since his T&D days, and how you've grown as a creative? Additionally, do you see this as being a standalone story with these characters, or is it one you'd like to expand on and explore through multiple narratives? Great question. Man, Howal from T&D days, it's very, very, very different now. I do think Howal carries some core emotions that I think he would have experienced in an adjacent story. I could never live up to a standard in the eyes of my family. I think he carries that. I think he carries that with him still. I think that's probably a pretty big part of his core. Just that, like, I was giving everything. I was trying so hard, and it was never enough. And all I could do was just come up short in these people's eyes. So he has that, like, chip on his shoulder. I think that's a core building block of Howal. But I think I've also begun to understand the other side of that, which is he does have this sense of justice, I guess, to him. That idealized, I wanted to be a hero. It definitely is something that I think he can't be shooken from. As for this being a standalone story with these characters, or it being one I'd like to expand on and explore through multiple narratives, good question. There are threads that could be pulled. There are going to be some interesting side characters that pop up, who play some unique roles that might be interesting to one day look at. The entire Reaper thing, like, because it's such a large system and has many branches or whatever, like, there's always a way where that could happen, where, you know, you could tell a story about a Reaper and a soul, like a Reaper and a soul that they're trying to usher off to wherever they're heading, and maybe something goes awry. Maybe they are at risk of a demotion if something goes wrong. You know, you could come up with a lot of little ideas. There is one story idea that could sprout from this that is very intriguing to me, but I don't know. It depends on how things go and if it's a success or not. But there's room for more. Should the world want it. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to take a crack at it. I just wanted to see, like, I don't know, could published author be on my list. Like I've done a few things, but is that one I could put on there? On my vision board that doesn't exist. Another big motivating factor for this. Excuse me again. Another big motivating factor is that Larian Studios is putting together a team for collaborating with freelance storytellers from several mediums. And when I saw them tweet that, I said, cool. I'm going to be there. When that opens up, I'm going to be there. So that's going to happen. Like I have never been more confident that I am literally the type of person that you're looking for. And I would put my work up against anyone else. I would do it. I am that confident in my shit. So I'm watching carefully. Because what they were doing was they were hiring for the team that will be partnering with people. Because I saw people like reacting to it and they were like, oh, I want to try out for this, blah, 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 blah. But they didn't really look at the job descriptions and what was happening, because they were looking for the person that's heading up the creative oversight. They were hiring the person who handles finding the people and making those deals. And then they were hiring an editor. And I'm like, oh, well, none of those are me, but I'm going to be the one that person in the middle is looking for. So this is also me preparing for that, if that makes sense. Because published author would look real good on a resume for what I want to do. Because I keep saying that writing a novel was the first dream. But if you want to be technical, the first dream was writing the stories for video games. Literally the first dream I had as a child, 7 years old, having played Final Fantasy VII. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I would quite enjoy that. So yeah, I am trying to prepare myself and my skills and my resume. Yeah. And maybe that is insane, but I would much rather at this point I'm comfortable. Like, I've done it. I've achieved several dreams already. I am making a living off of my creative endeavors very comfortably. I've done it. I've proved to myself that I can do it. It is not a traditional path, but I've proven that I can do it. So now maybe I spin the block and I acquire a few W's that look good on a resume. And worst case scenario, I self-publish and I sell a bunch of copies anyways. So fuck it. Like, I'm not gonna lose anything, right? Like, it has, if anything, this has motivated me even more creatively. Like, I've written so much recently. I had a week where I think I wrote probably like 10,000 words across several different things, like the Finn's and recorded, yes. Finn's summer getaway audio, which was massive, 4,000 words. Several other things written and recorded. So I think, if anything, I'm just like, my battery is really charged up and I'm excited to use that and get that forward motion going. And a lot of it, I talked a couple streams ago about how I had participated in a voiceover workout. That was a big part of it too, and it helped solidify my confidence. Cause like one of the reasons, and like it's embarrassing to say, but it's something everyone understands, is like I needed to go and get affirmation that I'm good. I needed to go and see if I was good. And when I went and I participated in this thing, I got the biggest response. Like I was able to see without a doubt from unbiased people that I'm good. Because like I could tell myself that and believe it and see the results, but like until someone I'm looking up at is like, whoa, holy shit. It wasn't, there was a one switch had not been flipped. That switch got flipped. And then I was like, hey, maybe I'm not full of shit. Like maybe I'm not, like I don't have a bloviated sense of self. Like maybe I am kind of decent at this. So when I got that switch flipped, it was like, you know what? Look at all these shots I haven't been taking because I didn't quite believe that I was that guy. So it really helped me go, all right, yeah, let's move. Like, let's do this shit. Hey, Lizzie. Yes, like it, and here's the thing. All of 8+ years ago when I started this, none of this was the vision, right? Like I just started because I was having fun. I started to find my footing, and it just turned into this thing that I was passionate about. So like, it's so important to pursue the stuff you're passionate about because people will gravitate to that. That's the missing thing. Because like you see it in a lot of things, whether it's people who want to get into being a content creator of any sort. Maybe you want to be a VTuber, voice actor, you want to make a YouTube channel, etc. Like, people fall off when they're not passionate about it. Like, if you are not doing it because you want to have fun doing it, you will not. Because, like, you need that internal engine that wants you to create. And that's, for many reasons, why there's a lot of stuff that I don't do. I have a ton of ideas, but I'm like, it's just a good idea. Like, sometimes a good idea is just a good idea. You're not passionate about it. And then this happened, right? Like, I had this idea and I let it marinate. Like, it's been fermenting in my brain. And then something started to click, and a few more of those dots were connecting. And I was just like, man, I think this would make a good book. I think, especially right now, in terms of like a D&D flavored romantasy that is spicy, like, hold on now. What if I had something that would check everyone's box, where it's like, the smut is good, the romance is good, the setting is good, but like, it also has a good plot? Like, hold on now. What if I put it all together and do this? And I was still, I liked the premise. I liked the characters, and I'm like, okay, I could do it. I see the stuff there, and it's very much the way that I've written a lot of my other shit, where it's like, I have to go with it a little bit to see all the other doors open up. So after I made the decision to try, and then light bulbs just started going off a lot. Things started going off a lot, which when I have light bulb moments, it's very impactful. It's like, oh my God, I have this whole thing. And then I'll have a big yap about it. And I'm like, damn, that was pretty good. I like that. I'm excited. But this was like, I had this realization and this realization and this realization and this realization and this one and this one and this one and this one. I was like, yo, hold on. Like, this is actually a thing.
Jump scared by the plot.
Jump scared by the plot. Because, like, I had good characters, good romance. I know the smut's going to hit. That's why I put the finger blasting in a nightclub thing. Because, like, whoa. I had this idea. And then it was me talking about that scene and how it would then impact the characters. Because shit can't just be gratuitous. I was like, hey, what if the first time they have contact like that, they are being irresponsible? They're being irresponsible, and Lumi, who is so put together and good at her job and on top of things, what if they were irresponsible together, had an incredible time, and then, because of it, she fucks up. She's let someone down. Something goes wrong because she was not on top of her shit. So what happens when the character who doesn't want to let go, who doesn't want to let down their hair, what happens when the character does it and then gets slapped in the fucking face for it? What happens then? Fun shit happens then. Because then, friction, distance, uncertainty, the drama happens. The communication issue happens. The I want this, but it's bad for me happens. All of the things that are good happen when you cause little troubles for them. So that's why I put that scene on there, because that scene not only is really sexy, because it's two people who are finally like, let's do this. Come be bad with me. Like, let's sneak out like we're fucking two high school kids. Let's fucking sneak out and go to the club and like put on something you would never wear. Put on something you haven't, like, go shopping here. All of your shit from the Capitol, fuck that. Go shopping here and pick out what you want and come out with me. So she goes from like badass battle armor and very refined and proper to like a nightclub in hell outfit. And they go out and it's like, yo, the chemistry, the electricity, we're fucking, the bass is pumping, something else starts pumping, you know what I'm saying? So it's very, 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 very sexy and undeniable. Like, it's so potent. Like, they can't deny that, like, whoa, this is a lot of fun. And even Hal, who does misbehave, he's like, whoa, this is, like, different. So he, not only does she have the, oh my God, I was irresponsible, blah, blah, blah. He's like, whoa, why is this not like the other times I've had fun? Why was it so satisfying to get her to come out like that? Why did I enjoy it like that? So he's like, oh my God, feelings. And like, he's bristling because of that. She's distant because I fucked this all up because of you. See, I was having ideas like that. And when you have ideas like that, it's like, whoa, this is the shit that like other people struggle to land, right? Because like others might run into, okay, we have to run through a few drafts of this to get the first contact moment right. And I'm like, that first contact is insane. That is so potent to me. And a lot of my ideas are coming out like that. So, of course, there's going to have to be drafts and revisions and shit. But I think the bones of this and the meat is really solid already. So, you know, I go from that and then I'm like, okay, so we see this. So we see how these different levels of tension are happening and how their different characters are responding differently to this. And you run into like, okay, so what happens when something inconveniences them again? So like what happens when forced proximity occurs, when they really aren't trying to be close, when they're trying to not talk about what happened? What happens when you introduce a little bit of jealousy in there, in that specific crock pot, right? It starts to boil. The pressure starts building. So it's like, whoa, why do I hate the way that this guy looks at her? Like, why is that bothering me? You run into that. So it's like the beats that get you and it all is tied up in the plot. Like everything we're moving towards is leading up to the point, right? So I feel really good about it. And if I didn't, so like if I would have had a fraction of that and I was like, yeah, it might work, it could be cool, and I'd, struggle a little bit with finding out like how does it begin? Like where do we begin? Why do we begin there? Whatever. But the more I started to think, I was like, whoa, this thing is just like barreling towards the point. So when an idea is that potent, when an idea is so like, when the blanks all just start to fill in themselves that quickly, it's like, well, fuck, I've got to chase that, right? Like you can't sleep on that. I don't think you should sleep on that when you have something that's undeniable. Like I have no shortage of things to be working on. And again, like everything I'm doing right now is working. Like business is good. The plot, the stories, the audios, it's all going well. But this one made me hungry for more. And look, hey, your boy can have quite the appetite. Let's be real. So, my plate's already full, but this shiny thing in the corner of my eye was like, hey, you should maybe. Also found out that someone that I had written with in the past is also like a published author now. They got a fucking insane deal for their book. And I was like, you mean we could have gone from where we were to that? Like if I had really like stayed on course, maybe I could have ended up there. I was like, maybe I could do that. Maybe. But it really inspired me to go, hey, like once upon a time, this person admired me. Maybe I should go. Maybe I should do it. Maybe, and it doesn't hurt to have someone I could be like, hey, what is this like? Like, what about this? What do you think about this, etc.? So, having someone who I can pick their brain sometime, not a bad perk. Yeah. It's a big yap. All right, last call for questions. Also, for you who have stayed this long, I'm going to give you a special exclusive.
Oh, I see. I see.
It's he. I would circle your calendars for June 4th. I would circle your calendars. My favorite part of the hair is the front, but I won't. It did take forever. Honestly, I think it only took 2 revisions, but it felt like forever.
It felt like forever.
And if all goes well, Finn's summer adventure should hit on June 5th. Turned out really good, by the way. Finn's summer adventure is 40, it's like 43 minutes. Big one. Yeah. So I'm excited. 43 minutes. I wanted it if I don't know. I thought I was going to make it longer, but like it just felt like
43 minutes so long?
it is long. I just thought I could get more out of it. But honestly, the story felt like a natural conclusion. Like it felt like, all right, what? I'm going to come up with more bullshit to extend this out, or do we hit this final? Do we hit this finality? Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Jackie's working on special art for that. And then, yeah. How did you get inspiration for your book? Well, I'm trying to think of a way to answer that I haven't already at length. Yeah, I don't know. I've answered, I think I've answered every corner of that question. Basically, me and Jackie here have 2 Blorbos, and for a couple years we were like, what if we made the Blorbos kiss? What would that be like? And then I started to like really have some answers to it, and I was like, what if I did this and then this, and then a bunch of other things started to become clear to me. So it all just hit me like a ton of bricks, actually. Speaking of fully charged batteries, will we see dark mode Howie again? That art with the ear thing after everything was... Hold on. I gotta wrap the text. Was said and done lives rent-free in my brain. That's a great question. So we see him here in his... That's Howal self. I do think that might be a glamour to make him a little more palatable. He definitely probably has a side of himself that is more demonic. I just really love the idea that maybe he did a bunch of body modification and wanted to fit in rather than just be, I'm half-elf Howal in hell. He might have been like, man, I want to look spooky and intimidating. It was very sexy of him to do that. I do... I wonder if I'll get him back in... So, I had this thought of, like, this coat. It's basically fucking... Ironically, the dude is named V from Devil May Cry. The, like, no sleeves, long coat situation. I've thought about that being part of his, like, his battle fit. I've thought about fighting a lot too. and like the chapter, the book 2 crash out that could happen. Oh my god. I would love it. I would love it. How are things with Bittersweet Chapter 4 going? I just need to do it. There's been so much else going on. But the other day, I kind of thought about sitting down and writing. So that means it's probably going to come out of me real quick. And then I just gotta go do it. But yeah, I dedicated a lot of time to getting the Finn thing done and written, recorded. So that kind of took priority. But yeah, I have a pretty clear picture of what needs to happen in the next few, I don't know. Jackie's got a lot of art to do. But we do have, how done do you feel the Tower 2 is?
Oh. Not complete.
Not, okay. But it's like,
But it's,
you probably got like a rough,
yeah.
okay.
It's just there was a part of it.
Haunts.
Character, yeah.
Yeah.
That is very
Gracie.
rough looking.
Gracie looks like a stick horse. A stick bug, even.
Oh, stick bug Gracie.
Stick bug Gracie would be cute.
What?
Get stick bug.
No,
Get stick bug.
no.
Get stick bug by Gracie. Jackie, what's your favorite book trope? Go.
Fuck. I think hate to love, but it has to be done. We've had this conversation before. I'm very picky about my hate to love, in the sense that the hate needs to last for forever. Like, I read a book. I don't know if I'm going to finish the series because I started it before I knew about the author, and the author sucks ass.
Oh.
But I was really into the character dynamic, and the entire first book, it's like a giant book, 800 pages, tiny little letters. And they're building up this tension between the two main characters, and I'm eating that shit up. And I'm thinking only near the middle of the second book or near the end of the second book, they're gonna kiss for the first time. But it happens, they fuck at the beginning of the second book, and it's horrible. Because you spent the entire first book building up this I hate you, but I don't actually hate you. And now I'm just going to have these really conflicted feelings because there's a lot going on right now and I can't actually really think about our relationship. But every time I think about you, there's this other voice that I'm not used to hearing. And so you think the first scene where they fuck is going to be crazy.
The other voice is my coochie.
It wasn't. It was terrible, and it made me so upset. I would have been okay if they went the entirety of the second book and just maybe hooked up at the end, and it was phenomenal. But my favorite is a hate to love that brews. It sits there, and even it doesn't necessarily have to be hate, but a forced proximity. I don't really know you, hesitant type deal. And then just monsters. I like monsters. I love romance. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your idea of romance novels, I need to have at least a subplot of a romance in the books that I read, or else I'm not interested. I love romance, and I think it's interesting, and I like the way people put it in books, so there's that. So yeah.
I would struggle. I would be so scared that people wouldn't hang around with a really long hate to love. So you have to have a good plot.
Most people wouldn't. Most people wouldn't. I'm fucked up. I'm not a lot of that.
I think that's one of the things where you'd have to just have a good book, and the hate to love just has to be consequential, rather than this book is a hate to love, and because I can tell Oh yeah, people are like, well, get to the part where they overcome it. And it's like, oh no. That, or come up with a fun way to make it not. Ooh. See, I'm giving away game.
Don't do it.
You come up with a way to make it not count. And not only make it not count, make them forget maybe. So you get like almost a Groundhog's Day situation where they have to like try and it's not working. And then like maybe there's times where they break through, but then that's taken away. That way you can give readers some, I don't know, keep people moist. So keep them salivating. I get it. That's just a lot. It's just a lot. Sorry, chat. Sorry, Thea. There would be a way. You'd have to come up with a fun way to make it.
The way that it worked in at least that first book was because the romance was such a subplot that I was so intrigued by the rest of the story that I wasn't like, oh my god, when are they gonna fuck? I was like, okay, I actually want to know what happens outside of this. But then every time there was a tension, I was like, oh, hold on, is it gonna happen now? No? Fuck, but also, don't fuck just yet.
I think you could do something neat where you do like both characters, there's like two versions of them, and maybe one's like past, present, or future, or whatever. Two like eras of this person exist, and then two eras of the other person exist, and whenever the opposite eras cross over with the other character from the other era, they get along, but for whatever reason the parallel ones don't. So like, man, there's a version of you that I like, and they keep getting taken from me, and it's you.
That would go crazy.
It would be really complicated, but it wouldn't have to be. You just have to come up with a reason why that's happening.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like if you were telling two different stories that converge going the opposite directions. I think that happens with like Tenet. If you guys are familiar with Tenet, there's a version of you that you were depriving me of. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I like that. So then like the opposite self has to like, oh my god, I was gonna say the opposite self has to advocate for, but what if they had to advocate against? What if they were like, no, don't go for them?
You're giving a perfect book away.
Tenet, there you go. I always forget if it's like an ent or a net. Tenet, yeah. The one that people couldn't hear. It's also a complicated plot. So when you can't hear the complicated plot, you're like, what's happening here? Christopher Nolan, what's happening here? I swear to God, if I go to watch the Odyssey and I can't fucking hear the Odyssey, gonna be pissed.
You know what you could really hear though? Fucking Dunkirk.
You could hear Dunkirk. I enjoyed Dunkirk actually. The end bit was.
I love Dunkirk.
What inspired me to write? Final Fantasy VII.
Peak.
I got on a Harvest Moon forum. And started role playing. I was 8.
That's crazy. By the way. You should have been at Club Penguin.
Club Penguin didn't exist. I had dial-up. Back when
Yeah, just say you're old.
back when AOL was offered on discs in Walgreens. Who is the first character RP for? I believe I was an OC, but brother, let me tell you who I was down bad the most for. Lucia from Lunar 2, Eternal Blue.
Who's a motherfucker with an L? Sorry.
I didn't know that they remastered the Lunar games. I don't know why I say it that way. Lunar.
It's your ASL.
Lunar.
My first roleplay character was fucking Firestar from the Warrior Cats books. And then a wolf.
Well, I have to use my shirt to clean up coffee. That's fine. It's just blue hair and a bang. Yeah.
The bang specifically.
Yeah, but she was also real sweet and self-sacrificing. And there's a scene. Here we
go.
This inspired me to write, brother. Okay, she's sacrificing herself. She's the chosen one, whatever the fuck the plot is. They're in this tower. You've just beat this boss. And she's like, all right, we just beat this boss. And she's like standing down this hallway. And then the protag's like, hey, what are you doing? And there's an invisible wall between them. And he can't reach her. And she's like, I have to go. And he's like, no, bro.
Would she be your first character that you fell in love with?
No, my first character I fell in love with was Aerith.
I was gonna
Antifa. I don't know who. I wanted to have it both ways.
say. Okay, Cloud.
I wanted to have it both ways, and I ended up with Barrett in my Ferris wheel. There might have been. No, I was down bad for the Harvest Moon girls too. Especially, was it Karen? It might have been her. Karen. It might have been Karen. Hold on. Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon, Karen.
First video game character I
Yeah, you little baddie.
Oh my God. Not the fucking racing stripes.
Stop. Who else?
He said, if it's a money piece, I'm here.
What about Potpourri? Is that pink hair girl? Potpourri.
You love a pink haired bitch.
Yeah. Oh, you got a big ass forehead on you too, don't you? Ugh.
Ugh,
That's so.
you're evil.
That sounded so. That wasn't meant to be. She's very Aerith coded. I think she was the daughter
She is.
of the florist.
Another fucking florist.
I liked Anne too. I think that's the farmer girl. I couldn't get enough. Harvest Moon. Anywho, little me was on them forums, boy. Let me tell you. My OC had an evil clone who was hotter than him.
What was his name?
Chaos.
I was about to say.
His name was Chaos.
It's okay, I have a chaos now.
He was inspired by Shadow the Hedgehog.
Period.
Yeah.
My first video game crush was Connor Kenway from Assassin's Creed 3. I'm sure I've had ones before that, but he was my first, like, holy shit. Beside him, Shadow the Hedgehog, but that's predictable.
Yeah. Yeah. My little fucking silly boy heart broke when my roleplay partner found someone else. It's like, hey, I'm online. They were at the fishing dock, some other guy. Oh, little me. All on the dock. That's okay. I just started cooking up some crazy story. I was like, damn, I'm cooking here. I wasn't interested in those other thoughts, though. This is really down bad for the blue-haired anime girl. Yeah, look at me now. I'm sorry about that time that I thought you typoed Lincoln Park. Wherever you are. Roleplay buddy from AOL dial-up internet on a Harvest Moon forum. Never forget.
It's probably like a 23-year-old man.
Could have been. They never know. Me and my Brazilian stepbrothers, they'd get me in AOL chat rooms and have me chat up. I was like 10, and I was talking that shit. They were like, hey, say this. Say this. And I was like, oh, no. Here's how you got to say it. And they'd be like, I can't believe you said that. I was like, yeah, well, what can I say? I got game. That's terrible.
You never pretended to be a woman. Unless.
No, I just pretended to be a grown man when I was definitely not. That's all right. Lord. Practice internet safety,
Please.
everyone. It's a wonder that I didn't. Strange times. Well, yeah, we made it. I mean, yeah, I did all right. Maybe in my like forward of the book. Is that, do you write your own forward or do you have someone else write a forward? I don't remember. Whatever. I'll shout them out. I'll be like, hey.
All your acknowledgements at the end?
Yeah. I'll be like, hey. That Lucia role player on the Harvest Moon forum. This one's for you. If I ever have a scene that involves an invisible wall between two characters who can't reach each other despite the one being like, I have to go, and the other's like, no! Forward, happy birthday, Cardlin. Bro, that was so funny.
Get his ass!
Man.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah, what are we gonna have for dinner? I did not enjoy the lunch.
No, do you want to order something?
Maybe as a little treat. Who's ready for this tower shit that's coming? This Oron Everlast nonsense. I'm not gonna get into details because we will be live on Wednesday talking about it. But that's a good 30-something minute audio as well, I believe. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. The Faust Origins. Faust Origins not too far off. Hey, Bloody. Not too far off from the Faust Origins. And when I say not too far off, Thu's working on how the video will look. So we are... Are you going to cry?
Just in general?
I mean, it's a little... If you like old mentors who turn into father figures but have immense amounts of guilt and other... Show the boy. Oh, right. I was for people who made it this far into the stream, I gave them a little tease. I gave them show whole. Sorry, wrong. There'll be a proper reveal soon, and circle your calendar for June 4th. Him belt falling off. Yeah, I messaged them about trying to see if we could glue his belt on. We'll see. Look, he has to have flat buns so he can sit well. Otherwise, he'd be rolling all over the place. I'm very happy with how he turned out. Very happy with how he turned out. Yes, Tower. And then we've got the week. I'm hopeful that the week after that we'll get Faust Origins. Very excited for that. And I've given Thea, you'll be so proud of me. I just drew a timeline and put everything with little arrows pointing to where they need to go. And I was like, hey, Jackie, now that we know that there's a text tool, can we just draw a timeline to show people? And we're going to do that. Because I think a lot of people, I've already seen people speculating, and it's like, no. These things are happening in different years. Things are happening, usually more than a few years. Possibly silly question, will EOE and Shattered be releasing concurrently, or is the plan to wrap one up and release the other after? So, I think the thing that I think is more likely to occur is that the Tower and Shattered will be releasing concurrently, because these things are closer intertwined than Echoes. Echoes will probably follow that. Yes. So, I'll have my little timeline that shows, like, starting all the way back with, like, the furthest back is the Ulrich Origins. And if there's any more of Ulrich Origins, it'll probably be dispersed over a period of time. So it's like Ulrich. I've already forgotten. Yes. It's not that important, but now I'm mad that I've forgotten. Ulrich, Faust Origins, Ulrich, Faust/Finn Origin, Big Jump, The Tower, Big Jump, Thomas, Medium Jump, Bittersweet Chapter 3, Bittersweet Finn Interlude, Bittersweet 4 Shattered 3, Echoes of Everlast. So that's kind of how it's going to go. I think there's a cat Pete on the table.
I think it was Howal.
Yeah. So So some people are like, oh, what if in the tower he's going to see the someone at the College of Mages? And I'm like, well, he's not at the College of Mages when that happens. So that's not how that's going to go. So I will have a handy dandy reference image. People can see the gaps. I'm not giving things definitive dates because I don't want to come up with a fucking calendar and like year nomenclature for fucking my fictional world right now. We're just going to go by vibes. We're just going to go by amounts of gap in the timeline. So trying to have that ready for the tower because I know people are going to be asking and people are going to be like, well, when did this and this and this? I'm like, no, this is a story that's happening. We're getting several origins that occur in different places in time, which I know is not the most convenient way to do this, but when have I ever done it convenient? Hey, girly. Ooh.
Still need the white to fix a couple of things, but she's still gonna get it.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys to meet Edwin and to get to know. We will not see Gracie in the first episode. You will hear her like once. I think she snorts once. No, because the plot is like Oron meets with Edwin. They discuss a favor that needs to be cashed in. And then in the morning, Oron meets the listener character and they set off on their adventure. So it's a lot of setup, but I think when people find out like who the listener is, what their role kind of is in the world, and the dynamic, I think they're gonna be like, ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. You guys are gonna struggle to get along. 'Cause that's fun. I need to record the next episode of The Tower. And mind you, I have had The Tower planned for like 3 years. Feels like 3 years. And I've never announced it. I have never said, oh, by the way, I have this big Oron story planned. Yes, I've known that The Tower was happening for a very long time. Yeah. So it's finally happening. It only took forever. But I figured out that like, ooh, hey, I need The Tower and Shattered to kind of be a pairing. So I've known ever since I was talking about Shattered, for sure, I was like, okay, I also need to have this thing that I'm not telling anyone about ready. So. Oh. All right, homies. I think it was really hard. It was really hard. I think I was only able to get away with it because people don't understand how Everlast and our characters work yet. But they will. They will. I don't know. I don't know what's for dinner, but it does feel like it's just about that time.
I want
Corn.
I don't know about chilies.
Yeah, but corn.
Right?
It could be a trippy dippy kind of night. Ooh, soup. You should have soup.
Ooh.
We saw soup.
Oh, on TikTok?
Yeah, we saw soup. We saw Georgetown. We saw a review for a restaurant in Georgetown that looked fucking good. Have chicken nugget. I thought about that as well. Yeah, I kind of want Chili's now. You said it. Now I'm like,
Right?
now I'm like, ooh.
I want their salad. The reason I don't get their salad there is that they put the dressing on, and I have a very specific
Technique.
way.
Oh, Gracie. Ooh, I can't wait. I have to find guest voices for the second episode of The Tower.
For the horse?
No, not for the horse.
I'm telling you, if you need a side character that has a really goofy voice, hit me up. Oi, Oran.
Oh, the Southwest egg rolls. Yeah. Yeah, the shit. Yeah, I think I know what's for dinner. I think it has been decided. Oh my god. Look at him.
It's like Gracie before she gets her details.
Yeah. Oh, look at him. You're so dumb. You look like you've made a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah.
I sure did tell you about Seth over Southwest egg rolls. That was fun.
That's gonna be cute art when these two are done. What the fuck? It's almost like I'm an artist or something.
Yeah.
I gotta do those ones at some point.
Yeah. Hmm.
We'll figure it out.
Man, I just be thinking. I have played Persona 5. I have not beaten it, but I played a lot of it. I kind of got the point and got exhausted. I run into decision paralysis when you have to like build out a thing, and if you go one direction, you're gonna miss out on something else. So I start to get way too focused on min-maxing my shit and thinking that I'm gonna miss something. Fuck. It's the mental illness.
I can only imagine what it's like playing Baldur's Gate 3 with this one.
I am missing food right now. All right. Good stream.
Good stream.
3-hour stream. Big stream. Do I have anything else that I can show off? No, that's it. That's all. No, Jackie got jewelry on. No, she would have had a hand tat.
I was supposed to get this whole section done. I was going to get a big cathedral with the moon, but my artist had to postpone. But soon.
Me when the artist post.
No. I understand.
I don't understand nothing. I don't understand shit. All right, chat. Have a good night.
Have a good night, y'all.
Take care. Bye. Talk Wednesday.